Neito and Miss Slessor, Multicultural Teaching in Theory and Practice. Throughout this semester, I've been doing my student teaching observation at Enloe High School with my mentor teacher, Miss Slessor. As I've been observing and seeing how she teaches, I've really come to see that she is an embodiment of Neito's ideals that she puts forth in her book about multicultural teaching. Miss Slessor is herself multicultural. She seems to naturally utilize tools that Neito advocates. Tools of awareness, conscientiousness, respect, and accommodation. I myself have observed Miss Slessor promoting all four in her classroom. Respect seems to be the one she values most. She works to create a respectful environment by modeling respectful behavior towards all students and by encouraging students to show respect for one another. It may seem like a little thing, but students aren't allowed to tell each other to shut up. Even small forms of disrespect take their toll over time. Miss Slessor's content areas of English and world literature fit Neito's ideas of what and how students learn. Neito asked, can students think critically? In English, we do literary analysis, rhetorical criticism, research, and writing. She also asks, can students create? In the field of English, we create all sorts of things, characters, storylines, poems, and metaphors, just to name a few. Do students know how to ask the right questions? Miss Slessor emphasizes critical thinking skills, creativity, and skills of analysis so that students will be able to ask the right questions in all different types of contexts and situations. Neito asks, have students learned how to learn? Miss Slessor advocates knowing your own learning style, being self-aware, and taking ownership of your own education. Neito also asks, do students care about others? Miss Slessor promotes a caring attitude through literature. World literature includes characters from all sorts of cultures, countries, religions, and even time periods. Students not only read the story for Miss Slessor's class, they discuss cultural, ideological, and individual similarities and differences in order to understand and grow to know, perhaps even care for the character. Neito states that all good teaching is about transformation. This transformation occurs on three different levels: individual, collective, and institutional. Miss Slessor represents these transformations at every level. Individually, she's been shaped by her own experiences being multicultural and growing up in different parts of the world. Being half Thai and having lived in Thailand, Miss Slessor has had first-hand experience learning about and adapting to another culture. She continues her personal transformation through her travels to various parts of the world, her formal education, and her commitment to lifelong learning. At the collective level, Miss Slessor collaborates with a history teacher to team teach a class called Cultures and Civilizations. This class, also known as C&C, combines honors world literature with AP World History to give students both a breadth and depth of cultural, historical, and societal knowledge. This collaboration effort promotes transformation by taking an interdisciplinary approach to humanities education. Miss Slessor also advocates and actively strives for transformation at the institutional level. For years, she has attended an annual minority summit. This summit is held in order to analyze and understand institutionalized issues that affect minority students. Another goal of the summit is to educate teachers on the reasons achievement gaps exist. There are many reasons, ranging from cultural insensitivity to transportation issues. Transformation is started by asking, what can we do? It is achieved by carrying out the answers. Neito is a strong advocate for having a multicultural perspective. Miss Lesser is the embodiment of a person who both teaches and lives with this perspective. Neito writes that the 6 factors that make up a multicultural perspective are awareness, connection, collaboration, mutual support and understanding, socially constructed learning, and respect and accommodation. Miss Lesser's awareness has been cultivated by her multicultural background and by a combination of intelligence, common sense, and social insight. She has learned, through experience and observation, how cultural differences can impact students' learning. While lecturing on the theme of the saint versus the temptress, Miss Lesser gave an example of Eve versus Mary Magdalene from the Bible. I was surprised when she took a minute to point out that this was an example from a Christian paradigm, since they were reading British literature at the time. This is a shining example of Miss Lesser's level of awareness. Miss Lesser strongly promotes both connection and collaboration in her classroom. During the year, students complete a famous person project. Students are prompted to choose a famous person with which they feel a strong connection. They may connect to the culture, the religion, political views, or any number of things. In Miss Lesser's class, students often collaborate in order to build and expand their knowledge. They collaborate in discussion groups and writing groups. In one assignment, students grouped together and wrote and acted out African folklore plays. Miss Lesser works to build mutual support in her classroom by encouraging critical thinking in order to reach understanding. She uses lecture and discussion of literature to teach students to be aware of and accepting of differences. Like Neito, Miss Lesser also believes in socially constructed learning. Socioeconomic background plays a big role in students' background knowledge and experiences. Miss Lesser has had students who have traveled the world and has had others who have never left Raleigh. But these combined stories and experiences can be valuable tools to help students teach and learn from each other. Growing up bicultural has taught Miss Lesser the value of respect and accommodation, and about the stress and hurt that comes when you aren't shown these basic things. Hurtful experiences in the past have made Miss Lesser less tolerant of negativity regarding cultural differences and differences in general. She is quick to stop negative comments or gestures in her classroom, but also provides reasoning and explanation so that students may understand the weight of their words. Understanding is imperative to building respect. In The Light in Their Eyes, Neito discusses approaches that can either help or hinder learning. Through both interviewing and observing, I learned which approaches Miss Lesser valued and used most. Strategy is the first approach used by Miss Lesser. This is her second year teaching Enlo's yearbook class, and she's learning from mistakes that have been made in the past. She said her first year staff had been inherited from the previous year. Yearbook staff is competitive. Students must apply, send in writing samples, and be interviewed by the teacher. The staff for the new school year is selected in May of the previous year. Because of this, Miss Lesser ended up with a staff of mostly white, middle-class students who were not representative of the school's population. The end result was a bland, cookie-cutter yearbook with no diverse perspective. This year, Miss Lesser used a strategic approach to increase the diversity and thus the quality of the yearbook. She worked to recruit students of diverse cultures, relational orientations, and different backgrounds in order to increase creativity and fairness. The yearbook represents all the students, so she wanted to make sure that all students had a voice. The second approach highly valued by Miss Lesser is ideology. Miss Lesser told me that she had 2 main ideologies guiding her selection of the new yearbook staff. They were diversity and writing ability. She believes that diversity is imperative to a yearbook staff because the yearbook is a reflection of the school's identity and unique culture. Strong writing abilities increase the effectiveness of the messages the yearbook works to communicate. Miss Lesser's third approach, attitude, is reflected in the theme of this year's yearbook, diversity. It's been said that the smallest minority is the individual. Miss Lesser doesn't see her students as Latino or athletes or gay. She sees them as individuals. Her attitude communicates acknowledgement and respect of differences. Miss Lesser's fourth approach is behavior, both hers and that of her students. Miss Lesser started the pre-honors program at Enloe High School. This program is for students who are intelligent enough to do honors level work, but for various reasons are not at the behavioral level of an honors class. Miss Lesser designed the pre-honors program to cultivate and teach students responsibility, self-management, and behavioral skills that they haven't really been exposed to. Behavior can definitely help or hinder learning, but by helping students develop appropriate behavior habits, she's teaching them how to help themselves. With a bicultural background, a strong sense of awareness, and a charge to champion multifaceted transformation, Miss Lesser is a true embodiment of Neito's ideals.